So let me ask you, if you're dealing right now with someone who's perfectly positioned to expand from a solo agent to a team leader or to delegate, what would be the first hire that you would recommend someone?
Well, you're usually faced with a couple options when you're in that position where you're ready to take somebody on. It's usually either going to be an ISA, which a lot of people go that route, or another agent or an assistant. And I think assistant is what people most commonly go with, and that's usually going to be your best option because your first step is to try and get out of administrative work. So having somebody dot your I's, cross your T's on listings, book showings for you, handling your transactions. If you can get that stuff out of the way and focus more on building your actual business, that seems to be the most successful first step that people take. And ideally, you could find a licensed assistant, so somebody that can not only help you with that type of work, but also do actual showings, inspections, revisits, things like that. That seems like a very logical first step.
Yeah. I would like to run this by you to kind of get a feedback of what you think. Over time, by coaching clients, I realized that some clients need an assistant and some clients need an ISA. And what that decision was made upon was depending on what the area that they're servicing. If they don't have enough opportunities because the price point is higher and there's not enough inventory to roll it, then they seem to need more opportunities, and then they get an ISA to create more opportunities where they sit 3 hours a day to um, uh, get these opportunities to get in front of buyers and sellers. An ISA would sit 8 hours and just produce appointments for them. And then from the ones that they have lower price point and they actually have a lot of inventory in their neighborhoods, they seem to need more time in their hands by taking that responsibility of paperwork and admin work and delegate it to someone else. So I don't know if that's something that you've noticed or you came across.
I think a common sort of misnomer with hiring an ISA is that you can hire somebody really, really good and you're going to be able to show them some scripts and it's going to be like set it and forget it. And they're just going to start booking appointments for you, like you said, 8 hours a day. But oftentimes people can hire an ISA and find that they're spending more time with that ISA than they could be just doing the actual calls themselves. It requires a lot of time to train an ISA properly. And there's very few models or people where you can bring them in and it's just like set it and forget it and they're just going to make calls and be really, really good. And oftentimes the caliber of agent that's at the point where they can hire somebody is going to have a hard time letting go of control and letting somebody call their precious leads, their precious database when they're not 100% equipped to make the best use of those calls or those contacts that you've worked so hard. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of a misnomer that you can just hire an ISA and you're off to the races.
Got it, got it. And if you were to hire an ISA, what would you say that, for example, in Canada, I don't know, United States, but in Canada where you are, what would be a fair annual salary for an ISA?
So we pay, I think, a little bit above minimum wage, and then you have to have bonus incentives for appointments. Works really well, but we do it for transactions because that's really what we're after. You can get into trouble if you're incentivizing appointments because then you can get into this trap of booking a bunch of appointments that aren't going to go anywhere, and you can have this thing where an ISA books a lot of appointments, but a lot of them are canceling, and you have to pay attention to show rate. I recommend going for incentivizing for actual transactions, and then that's all the ISA is thinking about. And you can do a mixture of both. I've seen people do, but transactions works for us.
Yeah. And when it comes to assistant, what would be a fair um, payment for an assistant, in-house assistant, and an ISA?
So good question. We don't have any assistants at our team, but if we were going to hire an assistant, you'd have to pay certainly more than minimum wage. You won't find anybody good. I mean, if you've looked at the job market, if you put a job posting on Indeed, you're not going to get anybody at minimum wage. Certainly, like in Hamilton, Burlington, where we are, you're starting at least $25 an hour to try and find an assistant. That's why sometimes you're better off to find, like I mentioned, a licensed assistant where they have a prospect to do transactions and then they may accept that you may get a really good person that can do $25 an hour if they know they might be able to bang off four, five, six transactions in a year and get to a really good income. That's how you're going to attract the right person to your organization.
When it comes to the VA, do you have a company that you go for in order to recommend you some good VAs, or how do you find them, and what would be a fair price for them for payment?
Well, Rocket Sphere is a great company for hiring ISAs, or sorry, VAs. Rocket Sphere is a great company for hiring VAs, and we've used them in the past. And you can find people for $3 an hour, or you can find people for $12 an hour. Uh, it's you get what you pay for with VAs. Obviously, the reason we use them is because it can be much less expensive. It's still a very good wage in the country that they're in, but there's still the matter of you get what you pay for. If you go in and you just grab the cheapest person to do your transactions, you're going to be surprised at how much better the caliber of person is, even just at $5 an hour. And it's not this thing where you set it and forget it and you train them on these things like how to input a transaction or how to put together a listing. They have to be in your meetings, you have to know what they look like, you have to be in touch with them. You have to be in tune with them. Like they are a member of your team, and people can hire a bunch of VAs, whether it's through Rocketsphere or some other company, and they just shovel off a bunch of tasks to them, and they don't see them, and then wonder why the quality of work isn't where they want it to be. Because you wouldn't do that to somebody that was in your office physically. So why would you do it to somebody just because they're in a different country?
And now that we're talking about all of these hires, what's the structure of your organization? How many employees you have, assistants, VAs, um, uh, ISAs?
Yeah, so we have one ISA. So we at our highest time had five ISAs in our department, but we dialed that down in 2023, much like many other teams dialed down their ISA department. We just wanted one really good core person who can follow up and dig up opportunities for the agents. We have a listings coordinator. We have two listings coordinators. We have sorry, did I say listings coordinator twice there? Transactions coordinator, two listings coordinators. We have a front desk. These are all physically in office full time. We have a full-time marketing manager and a marketing digital specialist who helps us with filming and social media. We have a general manager, and that's the general structure. Plus, we have three VAs, virtual assistants, that are helping us with all kinds of things. A lot of stuff in the database, a lot of stuff in the after hours in terms of like delegating emails, putting together, following up on projects and tasks and things like that. They're no end of usefulness to us.
Are you involved at all in production?
I'm only involved in incidental production. I'm not pursuing it actively, so I would maybe do 12 transactions, a little bit more in a year. A lot of the stuff, I do a lot of calling with our agents in the database. So we do these boardroom calling sessions together, and almost all the stuff that I dig up from there, I give to the agents that are joining me in the room. So I'm not after transactions. I'm very much focused on recruiting and retaining the agents that we have.
Got it. And for someone, for example, that's been in the space of team building for a while, at what number or what GCI do you feel like it's comfortable to make that transition where you're occasionally in production and spend your time more into retention, recruiting, nurturing the people in the team? Where is that formula that gives you that time and space and financial benefit to come out of production?
Oh boy. I don't know that there's a formula because you see people that run teams two, three times the size of ours, and they're still doing 50 transactions personally. And you see people having success where they have much smaller teams, and the team leader isn't doing any production. They're more focused on the team thing. We're kind of at a happy medium. I think you always have to have a strong leader, and you need to always be in production. I don't think you can ever really get out of it, especially if you want to be the one standing in front of the room telling people how to do a listing presentation, how to show a house, how to put an offer together. Well, if you're not doing that day in, day out, how can you expect to lead the people on your team? And it's whatever works for people, but there's a few team leaders or people that have the misconception or idea that, I want to work really hard on my team so I can get out of the business and I can spend my winters in Florida and get away from the team and kind of semi-retire. I don't think real estate really works that way. You see a few people try to get away with that model and it often blows up in their faces.
So now we're switching a little bit on more on the operation side. What CRM are you using right now for the team?
We use Follow Boss, and we're kind of new to Follow Boss. We switched to Follow Boss back July 2023, and it's been a huge change for us, like a really positive thing for us.
Is there any other technology or software platforms that you use right now for operation and communications between you and the team?
So one that we started using just this January that I think is killer. I just found it by going to the Follow Boss integrations page. It's called Clarity Now. And Clarity Now is a fantastic, I'm not tied to them or anything. I'm not sponsored by them, but they
Mhm.
have a wicked transaction and reporting and tracking software. And the beautiful thing about it, I mean, there are programs like CTE and Sisu. This is a nice mix of it's very inexpensive for what it is, but it also gives agents a portal where they can go in and log in and see what their numbers are at any given time. So it allows agents to have their own portal where they can log in, and it also integrates with Follow Up Boss really well. So it's pulling things like appointments, deals, transaction. Also, it's pulling dials and calls and Follow Up Boss. So it can give you a good sense of what you need to do in order to hit your goal. And agents can log in, they can track their GCI, their volume, number of deals. It shows you on a chart what your goal is monthly versus what your actual is monthly. And I think the reason why a lot of agents can fall off their goal or get off track is because they're not analyzing it often enough. And this gives agents a really easy platform to just log in and it's all right there in a really sleek dashboard. Plus, the price is really competitive.
That's amazing. That's something that I definitely going to look into it because I haven't heard about this before.
Yeah,
No,
I would. I've been blown away by it. It's a really sharp UI as well.
that's amazing. If you if somebody's in your team, is it because they would be giving leads? And if you're giving internet leads, what systems are you using right now? In which way do you provide your agents with leads?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, who would want to join a team that has a bunch of leads and all these different teams and brokerages are offering leads? I would always be very wary of how many listings a team or brokerage actually has when they're offering leads because our leads anyways that we're supplying to the agents, they're primarily listings based opportunities. I mean, we generate a lot of pay-per-click leads, but we have a sophisticated system for doing that. We use this company called Sierra that helped us with our SEO, and they set up a secondary website to funnel in leads through Google pay-per-click. So it's much more sophisticated than what we used to be doing, but primarily the leads that we're getting through the team are listings-based inquiries. And Realtor.ca, Woolcott.ca, our website, and call-ins are big for us because we do a lot of print advertising. So primarily listings-based leads are going to the agents. It's not just a bunch of online generated stuff with, non-working phone number, non-working email. No, I mean, we still get those. Nobody's immune from that. And what's different about our team is we distribute our leads through duty shift. So it's the most equitable way we could come up with for distributing leads. So each agent has an equal amount of these shifts where anybody that calls in, writes in, it goes directly to the agent on shift. And what's great about that is, well, A, everybody has the same amount of leads, so you can't really blame your crappy year on not getting enough leads. And B, there's a live body in office that responds to the lead within 15 minutes. So it's really, really quick. And we use that at the listing table when we're trying to win over a seller. We say, call our team at like 7:15 at night. I guarantee you'll get a call back within 15 minutes. And they do this often, and it works.
That's amazing. Quick question, because you mentioned something that I think it's important. There's teams that really generate their leads from online leads, and there's heavy listing teams. And it's my love language when it comes to listing. So I want to dig a little bit deeper onto that. What do you guys do in order to get listings from the prospecting side and the marketing side? Obviously, don't go into all the details, but if you can give me some feedback on that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so listings. We spend a lot of money on, we've been spending a lot of money for a long time on billboards, benches, every billboard we can possibly get our name on in Waterdown, Burlington, Hamilton, all those areas. We do radio advertisements. We have a lot of brain recognition from being in the business a long time, but recently, this is so simple. But Remax has this thing called Real Intro that it's a website where agents can have their own profile. But what's great about it is it has instant home evaluation tool, which everybody's heard of this, but for some reason this one works really, really well. So we send out emails to our database with a link to this instant home evaluation where they can actually get a real number rather than, just getting a link where you can call an agent and they can come by and give a presentation. They get a real number. And so we get people that generate a home valuation from this, and then we call them. We call them several times. If they don't answer, we send them a letter, and we get quite a few listings from this in a year. We also do a lot of print advertising. So we send out a monthly newsletter to 110,000 homes in all of our different neighborhoods, and we get calls off this all the time. We call it Market Watch. A lot of our competitors have stepped away from print advertising or stepped it down a little bit. We kind of doubled down and it's worked well for us. The demographic of people that we deal with is generally the type that would pick up a newsletter, call for home evaluation, and that works really, really well for us. Plus, we have many teams are doing this pawn thing as we are, where we've been a team for 20 plus years, and over those years, we've had people raise their hands about a property or a home evaluation, and for one reason or another, we're not dealing with them anymore. They go into a pond. Our agents on our team spend a ton of time generating business from these ponds, calling through old leads, newer leads, all kinds of leads, and picking up where the next last agent left off. And that also works really, really well for us.
Amazing. I want to mention something actually to ask you a question, further questions, just because a lot of people think that, hey, we're sending out a flyer and that's it. They're calling us back saying, I want you to list my house. What's actually the process when somebody fills a form such as free evaluation or calls one of your flyers asking how much this property end up selling for? Or I see your billboard for a long time and we're interested in a home evaluation. If these people don't do business right away, what's the system? Where in which system they fall after that?
So anybody that calls into the team gets a call within 15 minutes. They get a call and then another call and then they get a text and then they get an email. And the first text and first email is drafted by the agent. So it's something relevant to that house. They're usually going to send out sales from the neighborhood or some sort of value to that person that they weren't able to get a hold of right off the bat. And then for
Do
the
they
next
do they use their phone number, their self number, or they use a system to send these text messages and emails?
they use their follow-up boss number for the text and for the email. Um, if we don't have an address, sorry, if we don't have a phone number, we will send them a letter or drop off a letter. Uh, then from there, we have a text drip that goes on for, I think it's either 5 or 7 days, plus an email drip, and they're added to the twice, sometimes 3 times weekly marketing emailer. And then the agent puts them on no more than a weekly call plan. But for the first 5 days, they're called twice, texted, and emailed every single day by the agent.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. I love to mention that because a lot of people think that, oh yeah, they just come to you right away. But the conversion from these follow-ups, it's phenomenal, if you continue following up. If you were to recommend right now agents, books, podcasts, events, seminars, what would you recommend right now that would make an impact to someone that would like to listen right now to something or participate or read a book?
So a podcast, there's a couple great ones. Dan Beers has this mastermind podcast. I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong about that, but it's really, really good. You also have the Reside podcast. So you have Sanit, Nick McLean. That comes out, I think, once a week, and that's really, really good. You have Cheplak's Maverick podcast. These episodes are going to blow your freaking mind every time they come out. I'd be looking out for those. My favorite events are always the Cheplak events. Honestly, I've never even been to a Buzz conference, but I hear they're really good. But I was at the Cheplak Tahoe event, and yes, the speakers are fantastic. Like there's times where the room goes dead quiet and people are like crying or they're being mystified. But it's also just as much about that as the people that you're sitting around. Like the guy I was sitting beside runs an 80-person team, yet he's asking me questions about how I run my team. And he's asking the people at the table, and like the information sharing at those events is like unlike any other I've been to. I don't know when the next Chaplac event is, but you could just Google it and I'd make an effort to go.
That's amazing. Um, let's move towards attraction, recruiting, onboarding, and all of these good stuff, retention that make a team a team. What's your attrition rate as of right now? For example, for 2024.
So for 2024, we hired 24 agents, and we still have on eight from the 24. So that's our attrition rate, whatever that percentage is. Um, yeah.
What's the average time of a team member that stays with the company in average?
So I don't know the overall average if you take everybody. So we generally have high turnover in the first 6 months, and that's either we decide it's not a fit or they decide, this is a little bit too crazy for me. You guys are workaholics, whatever. Um, Once people get to a year, they generally stay. So we have agents that have been here, many agents, 8, 10, 12. I think the most is 14 years with the team. Generally, teams have a lot of turnover around like November, December, January. This year, we had nobody leave the team. I mean, knock on wood, but we have a really tight-knit group at this time with the team, which is we're very grateful and fortunate for.
What's your recruiting bucket? Do you advertise? Do you hire outside a third company trying to recruit for you? What's your process?
So we have a number of processes. Number one is Indeed, which is big, and I don't think everyone's using Indeed, certainly not to the fullest extent. It's not as simple as just writing an ad and letting it go for the whole year. You have to have the right copy. If you want to hire from Indeed, look what your competitors are doing. So search realtor ads and copy, put in your own language what they're putting in their ad. You need to spend money on it. So we spend about $10 to $20 a day. I think right now we're actually at $20 a day, but this brings in 10 to 15 leads every single week. And I usually book 2 to 3 appointments a week from that. And you have to have a bit of a filter. So ask if they have a license, you're going to end up with a bunch of unlicensed. But even if you get people that don't have their license, usually they're in the process or they're about to sign up. I still book appointments with those prospects because they'll stay in touch with you. You put them in your database and you nurture them through marketing emails. You call them every once in a while to see how the courses are going. And those sometimes turn out to be the best agents. We love working with new agents, and Indeed seems to be a really good gateway, certainly in Ontario, where we can't grab people right out of the real estate college, Humber. Indeed seems to be the next best thing. Another is, well, I think you have to treat recruiting the same way that you treat your real estate business. And a lot of people don't really give the same effort as they do to their buyer and seller business, but it's the same thing. In fact, there's a much higher return on recruiting if you do the math, what an agent is worth versus what a single buyer and seller is worth. So, like all of the leads, all of the agents in our marketplace are in follow-up boss, the same as our clients. They're all staged properly. They all have an action plan. They all have a working, well, as many as we can have a working phone number and email. We market to them. So they get marketing emails a week. I call them periodically. Well, I call daily in that database, and that's been a huge source for appointments. A lot of people outsource the calling for recruits to an ISA or an assistant, but agents love when a team leader reaches out to them personally. And I love doing this stuff. These recruiting calls are my favorite. It's actually my favorite part of the day when I get in there because you're talking to people on the same level. You're meeting them where they're at, but you have to have the right script. Calling people and saying, "Hey, I checked your numbers and I think you'd be a great fit." That stuff doesn't really seem to resonate well, or it comes off in kind of a weird way, or it's old-fashioned, whatever. Cheplack has this great script. It's called the Get Comfy script, and it works freaking wonders. And you're just saying, I wanted to call you. I'm sure you're happy at your current company, but if you ever did decide to make a change, we'd love to be your destination team. That script works wonders, 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 dude. I don't know of many people that use it. So those calls are a huge source for our appointments. Another is we ripped this off you, Andrea, which is the top producer panel. And we've been doing that every few months. It's such a great idea. So we reach out to a few team leaders or top producers in the area. We ask them to do a Q&A in front of bunch of agents. We usually get about 100 agents to ours, and we do it at a local event space. And this isn't a case where a bunch of people show up and they're throwing their resumes at you left, right, and center, but you're trying to get the word out. Like, we're hiring people, we're bringing value to the community. And then, you nurture the people that you meet at these events, and some of them will turn out to want to partner with you in your real estate team.
How do you approach the onboarding to ensure performance? And how long there's the in-house program for agents that join the team? And are there mandatory trainings afterwards for the team members?
Yeah, so anybody new to the business is first of all going to be assigned a mentor. So a very experienced agent that they're going to have weekly meetings with. They'll take them on listing appointments, they'll take them on buyer appointments, do open houses, etc. In terms of onboarding, we do a quicker onboarding than I think most teams of our size. So we do a very intense 2 week onboarding because we want to get people hitting the ground running as fast as possible and mostly getting into the calls. So why I like the 2 week onboarding so much is because it's a full schedule for 5 days a week, 2 weeks. So it gives agents that are newer to the business or have been in the business a real sense of what they should be doing during the day. Big chunks of this 2 weeks are calling in follow-up boss, going out door knocking, and that's like 3 to 5 in the afternoon when a lot of agents have hung it up for the day. Most of this is spent scripting, buyer presentation, listing presentation. We spent a lot of time setting goals and tracking, getting them ready to track the right metrics. But the most important thing is getting people on the phone right away. So day one, they get to watch me in the boardroom with a couple other agents calling through the database. But basically, day two, headsets on, and you're calling people in there, and we're going to start digging up business. Because I think a lot of people get into the business agents and they're afraid of the phone and they just kind of, do a little bit here and there, but it's always kind of a fear locked away. We just cut that out right at the outset. We get you on the phone, we get you comfortable, we get you good at the phone so that you can start building business right away. And then once that 2 weeks is up, you're on the team. So you're taking duty shifts, you're taking leads, but we're going to build out a calendar for you before the end of that 2 weeks. And then we're going to hold you accountable to it so that you keep doing dollar producing stuff so that you don't fail. Because the reality is, it is so easy to fail in this business at the current time. There's far fewer transactions than what we've seen, and it's just not acceptable for us to have somebody have the opportunity where they can fail on our team. And so that eliminates a lot of the question marks.
We should put this portion on repeat for everyone to see either that they want to build a team, but most likely if you're at that stage where you're a sole agent and you want to build a team, for sure you've been through that and you know that in order to succeed in this business, you must pick up the phone. And I love that your focus is in getting people as soon as possible on the phone. It's something that in this industry, for whatever reason, lately is not being talked anymore. And it's almost like if it's considered an old school, call it whatever you want as long as you're on the phone and you talk with people, because in order to close a transaction, you need to talk to someone. And I love that you mentioned there that there's scripting, learning your objections, actually practicing your listing presentation, your buyer presentation. These are absolute pillars of business. And I'm so happy that you mentioned that. And we're not talking about va 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 boom, something that happens. People are coming to you all of a sudden, which could happen, but the percentage is much smaller. The percentage of people you don't know, or the people that are locked into their own worlds in terms of their jobs, their households, and they need someone to touch base with them and follow up with them. It's that pool is much bigger than the people that will just directly come to you. So I love that you mentioned that. What is it? Because you also mentioned accountability and structure. What's your structure for accountability with your team?
So it's whatever the agent decides. So we do a quarterly meeting. We got this idea from Chet Black. It's called Go to the Board. So everybody, the whole team sits in a room. We talk about what your goal is for the year. Most importantly, why that goal is important to you, and then what you're willing to do to hit that goal. Because a goal is worth nothing unless you've got an action plan that we can help keep you accountable to in order to make it a fact that you will hit your goal. So from that meeting, everybody's asked the question, how do you want us to keep you accountable? Do you want ghost pepper accountability? Do you want hot sauce accountability? Or do you want mild sauce accountability? And based on that, you go into a different group that meets in a different frequency. So mild sauce accountability, you're fine. We just kind of leave you alone. Hot sauce accountability, we meet once a month. And ghost pepper is every other week. And we go through your action plans and we keep you accountable to that. And that seems to work pretty well. Some agents need to be moved from hot to ghost. Some agents need to go from ghost to mild. But that system seems to work for us.
Amazing. I love that it's customized depending on each person's needs and personality because not everything fits all. What's the biggest misconception around being too young to start a team?
Being too young to start a team. Um, What's the biggest conception about being too young? Well, the biggest misconception about being too young to start a team is the same misconception about being too young to get into real estate. I mean, the limitation is all mindset. I think people assume you have to be 40 or 50 years old to start a team, but it's just not true. There's a great guy named Tom Story out of Toronto who's my age, maybe even a little bit younger, and he runs a super successful team. He does a great job attracting people through social media and putting out videos. I'm just gonna like age is just so not a factor. I mean, would you alienate a few older agents if you were 20 years old trying to start a team? Sure, but it's not impossible. Don't give up, and people will follow you if you're doing the right things, if you're showing up, if you're being consistent and you're serious about your business. They'll follow you at any age.
Yeah. Do you take on new agents or there's a minimum amount of transaction that they need to close before coming into your team?
Oh no, we love new agents, love new agents. We have a great formula for new agents. As long as new agents we're a fantastic ground for people to start their business. I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but you're not going to pick up any bad habits on our team. You're going to know what needs to be done 9 to 5 every single day. You're going to know what habits you need to get into. You're going to know what things produce money and what things waste you time. And it's going to be very clear on a team. Starting as an independent is very tough in 2025 because you've got to wear a million different hats, social media hat, prospecting hat, administrator hat, yada. On the team, you can just focus on building a business, building client relationships from day one and building good habits right off the outset. And we have been able to get new agents to deals much faster just by focusing so heavy on conversations in the database and getting on the phone. Getting that fear out of the way has been a huge thing for us.
Do you have a minimum closing expectation per year per agent based on their level?
We don't have a hard and fast number on that. I mean, I know a lot of teams have, minimum 10, minimum 12, minimum 24, whatever that may be. The reality is the best agents sometimes start slow. It might take a really good agent 6 months before they write their first transaction. I know that might sound crazy, but some people that are really smart, they need to know every facet of the real estate business before they start to take off. We had a fantastic agent start with us who didn't do anything for the first 6 months, just was really figuring out the business, figuring out the bearings, and then in year two, took off like crazy, and it was gangbusters, and just started doing deals like crazy. We'll stand behind anybody for as long as it takes, within reason, if they're putting forth the effort, if they have some intelligence, and if they have motivation. But the most important thing is you have to have humility in this business. And if somebody's not doing transactions, yet they feel like they know it all and there's nothing they can learn from you, then we can't really help you. We're usually going to close that relationship.
That was my next question. When do you fire, and what would take to fire someone at some point and say this is not the right person for the team?
So first of all, you know when it's not a fit. Like you know when it's not a fit. You know when you pass somebody in the hallway and you're not happy they're there, and you can tell that maybe they're not happy they're there. That is poison for your organization, and you need to get them out sooner rather than later. And if you have good enough people around you, they will give you clues or they will just outright tell you that person needs to go. But at what point do you actually call the relationship? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months, like without a transaction? As long as somebody's putting in the effort, we won't call it personally. Like unless it's probably 12 months, we would have to say, okay, it's been a year, you haven't done a transaction. That would be crazy. We've never seen that before, fortunately. It's just never gotten that bad. We've never had to make that tough of a decision because usually we find in our team if somebody's putting the hard work in and they're intelligent enough and they've got enough of the right things that it'll start to click for them.
How do you keep your agents motivated?
I can't keep anybody motivated. That's not my job. They've got to keep themselves motivated. Once I figured that out, my life got a heck of a lot easier. Um, Now, I shouldn't say that. The reality is anybody can fall into a slump, especially in real estate. There's a lot of hard things that you need to do. Calling strangers day in and day out can be tough, especially when things aren't going super well. So a big way to keep people in the activity rather than staying motivated, I like to keep people in the activity, maybe is a better way to say it. One thing is this boardroom calling session, which we do every Tuesday to Friday. So I lead it. It's 10 to 11 a.m. We put our headsets on, we go into the boardroom, and we call in the database. I'm there every single day. It's not mandatory. Agents for their first month with the team have to be in that room. It is mandatory. But once you're through that, um, we go in there, and it's a great resource for people that fall into a slump. And I'm constantly reminding the team that this is going on. So every team meeting, hey guys, come join me at this calling session. Every sales training, every scripting session, come join me at this calling session, especially if you're in a slump. And it's remarkable. Somebody might be in a bit of a dry spell. They haven't done a deal in a month or haven't done a deal in 2 months. They come and join me in this calling session, and what do you know? Things start popping off for them. They turn a corner very, very quickly. It's a great, that's been a huge thing for helping to motivate people.
And this happens every quarter, and it's like a full day,
No, that happens every single day, Tuesday to Friday, 10 to 11.
Tuesday to Friday, every single day. There's call session
Yeah, people can
where
join.
people
I'm
can
in
join.
there every day, digging up leads. Yeah. And it's
Amazing.
fun. You hear
I know.
people book them, you hear people book an appointment. You hear people, yeah, it's great.
And how do you find yourself in the environment? Because I know that sometimes there's the challenge of hearing other people. How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a great question because sometimes you have 15 people in that room and you've got like 10 people on the phone and it gets wild. And there's no clean cut way to do it. One thing you have to have the right headphones. Like that's simple. There's a great pair of headphones, Logitech 125, I think it is. It has a noise canceling microphone in it. That's why I like it so much. It's kind of
Um,
nerdy, but it works so well for that group setting. If you're just using like AirPods or some generic headset, you're going to pick up all the voices in the room. It's going
yeah,
to sound like a call center. So most of the agents on our team have that Logitech 125.
amazing. Oh, good. It's good to know. What about scripts? Do you guys start with role playing the scripts, objections, and then you jump on the calls or directly on the calls? And from what time to what time?
Yeah, so pretty quickly agents are getting on the phone when they start with the team. So day one, they're going to listen to me calling in those databases. I'm not going to give them a paper script. I'm going to have them just hear me. Day two, I just throw them into it and they go right into the calls. But we do spend a lot of time on scripts. So the number one most important one is one called the buyer lead generation form. And this is an old school script for taking in new buyer leads. I love this script. It's old, but it works so freaking well.
I don't
And we
find them
spend,
old. I don't know why people keep saying this is old school, this is old. It works, it sells.
yeah,
It's always gonna work. In 100 years from now, it's still gonna work.
agreed, agreed. And we've tried to change it. We've tried to modernize it, but like it never works. Nothing works as well as this buyer lead generation form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm role playing with new agents for at least a few chunks in the first 2 weeks. But every week we have a scripting role playing session Tuesday at 1:30 where we're doing different scenarios, different types of scripts. I think scripts are fantastic for getting your start, and you should definitely memorize it and have it absolutely dialed in. No sooner than that's mastered, then you can move on to putting stuff into your own voice a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. How do you foster culture within the team?
So the big way to foster culture within the team is to recruit to what you want your culture to be. If you're not recruiting and bringing on new people from to the team, then the culture is going to run you, and it's really tough to plan the direction you're going when you're not bringing on new people. Because the reality is there will always be people that fall off they get unmotivated, they're not interested in the team thing anymore, and you will have to replace them with new people. And the new people that you bring into your organization, if you don't have a full pipeline of recruits, you're going to be at the mercy of the few people that have either reached out or come to you by coincidence or happenstance. If you have a full pipeline of recruits, you now get to choose the really, really good, high caliber people that you're going to bring into your organization and that are going to bring your organization forward. And that to me is the key to culture. And that's worked very, very well. Since we started focusing very heavy on recruiting, all of a sudden we're surrounded by the right people that we love. And it's such a fun place to come in. We're excited about the people that are here, where the direction that we're going. And we've always got new people coming in the door, and everybody's graceful when they see a new face around the office.
I think you hit on something that it's almost like a dirty word when it comes to teams and downlines. Recruiting. The word recruiting is like a dirty word in the industry when in fact, in my view, is like you care enough of someone to really make that phone call and say, hey, this is what we have on this end. Is that will be of your benefit? And you bring them into your world. And obviously, if they're not a good fit, they're not going to do anything. But if they're a good fit, they're going to prosper and everybody kind of wins. So I love the fact that you're bringing this up with so much honesty. Recruiting is the life of a team by constantly replacing and bringing into the mix the people that really fit, and it comes through elimination. You bring some people leave, some people stay, some people, they're not a good fit. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a couple things with that. First off, everybody was a new agent on the team at one point and was welcomed gracefully by the agents that are here. Number two, a guy named Ben Kinney said this at this Tahoe event. He said the most selfish thing that you can do as a business owner is not grow your business, because then you're not producing any opportunities for the administrators, for the staff that you have on hand, nor the agents. And we've always found as a team, when our agent count was highest, what do you know? We had more signs in the area, we had more leads, we had more transactions, and our transactions per agent goes up. It's counterintuitive because people just revert to the scarcity mindset, more people, less leads, less deals. But it's the total opposite. And once you bring in the right people and everybody's on the same page with where you're going, things go a lot smoother.
How do you deal? Because we're talking right now about people exiting potentially for a different reason, either that you're firing them or they exit the team. How do you deal with the database and the leads upon departure?
So they'll have leads that they brought to the team when they came. Those leads are deleted and they're sent to the agent if they decide to depart from the team or if we exit them. The leads that they've collected through the lifetime of the team, they stay with the team. However, they may have a number of people, I think we do a maximum of 30, that they want to continue to work with. So all that we ask is if you want to continue to work with these people, we just do it on the same split as if you were here. Simple as that.
Got it. And you mentioned that in your regards, you're heavily involved into providing sellers leads, and your marketing has to do a lot with getting seller leads. What are the marketing avenues do you have rather than the billboards, flyers? What other marketing avenues?
Um, Well, a lot of it is agent driven as well. I mean, we do a ton of open houses. We do a decent amount of door knocking. But th those are really the big ones. Our website is a big attractor as well. So my sister, who used to work in PR and then moved over to the team, has a background in generating traffic on websites, and ours is a really high performing website. We spend a lot of money on SEO in order to drive traffic through there, and so we get a lot of business through Woolcott.ca. Also, I mean, if you're not signed up for referral exchange, you should be. Because we've been getting a lot of leads through that program this year, like a lot of seller leads and Redfin. I don't know why, but a lot of people use Redfin to find a real estate agent.
Tell me something that we haven't touched on that you consider that will be important for the audience to learn or to know about.
Well, so I talked at the start about how we switched over to Follow Up Boss last year, and I'm gonna harp on this because I love the calling part of real estate. Um, we all thought that we were very good at calling and keeping people's attention over the phone until we switched into follow-up boss, and now we had raw data on what our conversations were because it's recording them and it's telling you the duration. If you think that you're really, really good at calling, look at your call durations on average. And if they're less than 2 minutes, then there's some improvement that can be made. Because when we moved into follow-up boss, we realized, shoot, I know I've been calling for many years, but I don't quite have that skill set. There's a lot of meat being left on the table by not having that razor's edge skill set of being able to talk to somebody over the phone. Because even though it's 2025 and yeah, there's all sorts of AI and tech and emailing and texting, calling is the most efficient way to build meaningful relationships with clients that you will do business. It is the highest dollar producing activity. On our team, it's $13 every time you speak to somebody on the phone. Every call is worth $13. So where many people make $13 an hour, you can make that in 30 seconds by dialing the phone. That is the skill set that I think is going to win out. Like, yes, there are lots of great opportunities through social media and other avenues, but I think that this is the biggest skill set that agents who are failing aren't working on or are too afraid to get into.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just gonna say it.
I absolutely love it. I think some every single agent should have that 30 seconds that you just said every morning, and just that will be your affirmation in the morning to get you out of your comfort zone and just pick up the phone, learn what to say, how to say it, when to say it. It's the only thing that's going to make you money. It's the money making activity that all agents should have as a priority in the morning. I can't thank you enough for being so honest and not convolute the message and just say it as it is. Again, if anybody wants to reach out to you, where they can reach you.
We can reach me on my Instagram, it's just Peter_Woolcott or the Woolcott team Instagram. That's the best way to find my info. Send me a message. If you want to anything that we talked about, that Get Comfy script is a big one. I'll just send that your way. If you want to hear about Clarity Now, I'll send you information on that. I'll even show you what ours looks like. Just reach out to me. I'm an open book.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.